A man was given the chance to choose one of two chained alien women as a reward, but he chose both. The planet Xerxis 9 was a harsh, unforgiving world, its surface a wasteland of jagged rocks and swirling dust storms. It was a place where only the strongest survived, and where power was measured in wealth and cruelty. For Kale, a human mercenary, it was just another job. He had been hired by a ruthless crime lord named Zorak to retrieve a stolen artifact, and he had succeeded at great personal cost. Now, standing in Zorak's opulent throne room, Kale was ready to collect his reward. The crime lord sat on a massive, ornate chair, his reptilian eyes gleaming with amusement. Behind him, two alien women stood chained to the wall, their heads bowed and their bodies trembling with fear. "You've done well, human," Zorak said, his voice a low, menacing growl. "As promised, you may choose one of these women as your reward. They are both rare and valuable, prizes fit for a warrior like you." Kale's eyes narrowed as he studied the women. The first was a Celestian, her skin shimmering like starlight and her silver hair cascading down her back. The second was a Zephyrian, her luminous green skin and delicate features marking her as a child of the jungle. Both were beautiful, but it was the fear in their eyes that struck Kale the most. "What's their story?" Kale asked, his voice steady. Zorak chuckled. "Does it matter? They are property, nothing more. Choose one, and be on your way." Kale's jaw tightened. He had seen enough suffering in his life, and the thought of leaving one of these women to Zorak's cruelty was unbearable. He took a deep breath and made a decision. "I'll take both," he said. The room fell silent, and Zorak's eyes narrowed. "Both?" he repeated, his voice dripping with disdain. "You dare to demand more than what was offered." Kale met Zorak's gaze, his expression unyielding. "I completed your mission, and I paid the price. These women are my reward, and I'm not leaving without them." For a moment, Zorak looked as though he might refuse. But then he laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the room. "Very well, human," he said. "Take them. But know this, they will be your responsibility. If they cause you trouble, it will be on your head." Kale nodded, his resolve unwavering. He approached the women, his movements slow and deliberate to avoid frightening them further. He unlocked their chains, his touch gentle as he helped them to their feet. "You're safe now," he said softly. "I'll protect you." The Celestian, whose name was Lyra, looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you choose us?" Kale smiled faintly. "Because no one deserves to be treated like property," he said. "Now come on, let's get out of here." The journey back to Kale's ship was tense, the women clinging to each other as they followed him through the dusty streets of Xerxis 9. Kale kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, his hand never far from his weapon. He knew Zorak's men could be lurking anywhere, waiting for an opportunity to strike. When they finally reached the ship, Kale ushered the women inside and sealed the hatch. He led them to the small, living quarters, where he gave them food and water. Lyra and the Zephyrian, whose name was Serial, ate ravenously, their bodies trembling with relief. As they ate, Kale studied them. Lyra's celestial radiance was dimmed by fear and exhaustion, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes. Serial, though smaller and more delicate, had a fierce determination that reminded Kale of a cornered animal. He knew they had been through hell, and he was determined to help them heal. Over the next few days, Kale did everything he could to make the women comfortable. He gave them his quarters and slept in the ship's common area, determined to respect their space. He shared his supplies with them and listened as they told him their stories. Lyra had been captured by slavers while traveling to a diplomatic summit. Serial had been taken from her jungle home during a raid. Both had endured unspeakable horrors, but they had survived, and now they were free. As they spent more time together, Kale found himself drawn to their resilience and quiet strength. Lyra's gentle nature and Serial's fierce determination complemented each other, and they began to form a bond that went beyond gratitude. One evening, as they sat together in the ship's common area, Lyra turned to Kale. "Why did you really choose us?" she asked. "You could have taken one and left the other. Why risk Zorak's wrath?" Kale hesitated, then sighed. "I've seen enough suffering in my life," he said. "I couldn't leave either of you behind. It's not who I am." Serial's eyes filled with tears. "You're a good man, Kale," she said. "We owe you our lives." Kale shook his head. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "You're free now. That's all that matters." As the days turned into weeks, their bond grew stronger. Kale, Lyra, and Serial became a team, working together to navigate the challenges of life on the run. They faced danger at every turn, but they faced it together, their love and trust giving them the strength to overcome any obstacle. One night, as they prepared to leave a remote outpost, they were ambushed by Zorak's men. The fight was fierce, but Kale, Lyra, and Serial fought back with everything they had. Lyra used her Celestian abilities to create blinding flashes of light, disorienting their attackers. Serial, though small, was quick and agile, using her knowledge of the jungle to outmaneuver their enemies. Kale, with his combat skills and determination, kept them safe. In the end, they emerged victorious, but Kale was badly injured. Lyra and Serial tended to his wounds, their hands trembling as they worked. "You could have died," Lyra said, her voice filled with emotion. Kale smiled weakly. "It was worth it," he said, "to keep you safe." Lyra and Serial's eyes filled with tears, and they leaned down, pressing their lips to his in gentle, heartfelt kisses. Kale's heart raced as he kissed them back, the warmth of their touch melting away the pain and fear. In the days that followed, their relationship deepened. The danger they had faced together had forged a bond that neither could deny. They found solace in each other's arms, their love a beacon of light in the darkness of the galaxy. But their journey wasn't over yet. Zorak would not give up so easily, and they needed to find a way to escape for good. Using Kale's knowledge of the galaxy and Lyra and Serial's unique abilities, they devised a plan to leave Xerxis, 9, and start a new life together. Their journey took them to a remote colony on the edge of the galaxy, a place where they could live in peace and anonymity. They built a new life together, their love growing stronger with each passing day. Kale opened a small repair shop, while Lyra and Serial used their skills to help the colony thrive. One evening, as they stood on a hill overlooking the colony, Lyra turned to Kale. "Thank you," she said softly, "for giving us a second chance." Kale smiled, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "You've given me more than I ever could have imagined," he said. "You've shown me the true meaning of love and courage." Serial reached out and took his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "We are a family," she said, "and as long as we're together, we can face anything." As they stood there, hand in hand, watching the stars twinkle above, Kale felt a sense of peace he had never known before. He had lost so much, but he had also found something precious, a love that transcended species and worlds, a bond that would endure for a lifetime. And in that moment, under the vast expanse of the galaxy, Kale knew that he was home.